Welcome to the show, folks. The U.S. Department of Justice has agreed to pay former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn approximately $1.2 million to settle a lawsuit over his wrongful prosecution in the Russia collusion hoax, which the DOJ described as, quote, a historic injustice. This follows the DOJ's 2020 motion to dismiss the charges against Flynn for allegedly lying to the FBI, a case later dismissed after the President Trump's pardon. So what we're going to ask here today, what's next? I'll tell you what's next. The deep state must be brought to justice. By attempting and failing to frame General Flynn for treason, the deep state has exposed themselves. They are the ones who are the real traitors. The Paul Harrell program starts now.
Paul Harrell program.
All right, folks, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being with us, broadcasting here on LFA TV as well as YouTube, Facebook, Rumble. Well, we're obviously on Rumble on LFA TV. Do all the things, like, share, subscribe, and in seat number 2, my co-host Rob Spencer's back with us today. Rob, how are you, sir?
Paul, it's an honor to be here as always. Looking forward to getting to go through all the topics of the day. I'm just extremely frustrated by this. I'm happy for General Michael Flynn. I mean, this is a long time coming, and I hope that this is the first in a series of takedowns with his name associated with it, because the man was dragged through the mud. The man was literally tried to take away everything, his livelihood, his freedom, every single solitary shred of dignity that this man had. Our government tried to take away. When you think about that, when you think about what they could do to the best of us, imagine what they would do to just normal folks who get in their way. That's why Clintons have, 36 people in their circle that have committed suicide and all of this stuff because they didn't have as big of a profile as a Michael Flynn. And Michael Flynn, I remember him giving testimony about, like, look, I'm broke. They've destroyed everything. They've taken everything from me. I don't have this slush fund of money, to be able to defend myself against this big conglomerate evil empire.
Deep state.
The deep state. You've got 100 different names that you can call them. And Michael Flynn, unfortunately, and he's not the only one. And I just hope that this is the first in many sort of vindications, I guess, for these people who were, unfortunately affected.
Yeah, I mean, the case of Michael Flynn is one of, here's this guy who was in the intelligence community, oligarchy, really. He was witness, I believe, to a lot of their crimes. I think he was witness to it.
Oh, he knew where the bodies were buried.
Knows where the bodies are buried. Donald Trump then picks him as his national security advisor. And James Comey is on record saying, I'm the one that sent the FBI, basically, the 2 FBI agents over there to entrap him and frame him as a Russian agent, just like they were trying to do to Donald Trump.
James Comey's a sorry bastard, Paul. And that man he needs to be in prison, and he needs some prison justice served against him.
He absolutely needs to be in prison. And I talked about this the other day, as long as they're free. Actually, the American people are not free. That I really believe that. I've been marinating on that, all week. But with Flynn, as we talked about a couple of times this week, whether it was the Russia collusion Mueller investigation was really a cover-up for what they did to Trump in 2016, spying on his campaign, bugging Trump Tower, all of that, the fake dossier, getting, I think, even the Five Eyes countries involved against a presidential candidate, and then they won. And then you've got Michael Flynn, who had been in the intelligence apparatus, who's now tapped as Trump's trusted advisor, national security advisor. They had to take him out if they were going to then go after Trump and cover up what they had done.
Yeah, they needed some sort of they needed an entry point.
Yes.
And Michael Flynn was unfortunately that.
Right. And if Michael Flynn is compromised by Russia, and it was Mike Pence, by the way, that threw him under the bus and sided with the FBI, sided with the intel oligarchy.
Mike Pence, another piece of garbage.
Exactly. And then, of course, that leads to, so that puts the narrative. What they did to Flynn was kind of the foreshadowing of what they then did to Trump, and it was all treason, man. They were basically saying Trump and Flynn are traitors, but they were the real traitors. And like you said, that's why I'm stoked. I mean, I'm stoked that I can share this headline, and I'm sure whoever wrote this at the Associated Press was gnashing their teeth while doing so. Justice Department settles lawsuit from Trump ally Michael Flynn for $1.2 million. Now, he sued them, I think, for $50 million. And so there's some people who are going to say, well, he should have gotten a lot more. I think the vindication here is worth more than the payout, but that does not necessarily mean that the payout's going to stop at $1.2 million. Because, as I said in the opening monologue, the Justice Department admits that this was that they were wrong here. Not just a little wrong, but a lot wrong. What is it exactly that I said? Historic injustice. The DOJ described what happened to Flynn as historic injustice. So now Flynn can take this from the DOJ, admitting what they did, and he can take it and go after the individuals who were working for the government and use this to sue them. So there could be several more paydays, is what I'm trying to say, for Michael Flynn if he wants it.
Yeah, I mean, even one of our people, Wilson, who is a great commenter in the chat group over on Rumble, excuse me, he pointed that out. I was like, this sets a precedence. This sets an entry point for Michael Flynn to further his vindication campaign.
Okay, somebody said that.
Yeah, and so that's good. I agree. I mean, I think General Michael Flynn is a great patriot and a loyal server of the United States, and he was unfortunately scapegoated because he was in that wave of people that were like, hey, we're trying to take Trump down. All right, and so what do you do? Right, what's the how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
General Flynn was a big bite that they were trying to take to get to Donald Trump, and let's just be honest, it worked.
And you had
it worked for a while.
And not only did Flynn, Flynn had to get the information out. This was at a time when the censorship was still kind of in full swing. Obviously, it hit its zenith during COVID. But there was a ton of censorship. The mainstream media still had a ton of control. Jack Dorsey still had Twitter at the time.
Yeah.
But we were hearing these. We were hearing the news about how corrupt the judge was in his case. They were withholding exculpatory evidence. The whole thing was a political sham to go after Donald Trump. This is what Mike Flynn said in response to the news.
This is post news.
This is Mike Flynn's statement after we found out what happened, after getting the $1.2 million settlement. He says, after 10 years of fighting, I've reached a settlement agreement with the United States in my case regarding the Russia hoax FBI lawfare against me. Nothing can fully compensate me for the hell that my family and I have endured over these many years, the relentless attacks, destruction of reputations, financial ruin, the profound personal toll inflicted upon us. No amount of money or formal resolution can erase the pain caused by a prosecution that should have never been brought.
Stop right there, Paul, because he just said a mouthful. Mm-hmm. He just said, he literally pulled back the curtain and said, this is what our United States government did to me. That is an eye-opening thing. And Michael Flynn has talked about this. He's talked about it over the course of the last few years. But at the same time, until you're walking a mile in his shoes, do we really know what it's like to be the target of your own United States government?
No.
When you have an important and substantial prefix to your name, when you think about the fact that this man was a United States soldier for the United States of America, this man was a soldier and a general, and he was systematically destroyed. Now, $1.2 million to me seems like chicken feed. But as Wilson said in the comments, and others have pointed out, including you, Paul, this is just the start of something. I hope.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I hope it's just the start as well. More from the statement here. He goes on and he says, this ordeal stemmed from partisan government officials in a coordinated effort to pursue an innocent man as part of the broader campaign to undermine Trump and his administration, President Trump.
Yep. It
was a relentless partisan pursuit that weaponized federal law enforcement in an audacious and unjust manner. And I'll just argue, the deep state had a field day here. And because the deep state got away with this, they also got away with the lawfare that later came. Obviously, Mueller was lawfare, but the zenith of that lawfare was obviously Jack Smith, Arctic Frost. Mm-hmm. It just emboldened them. These guys have never been held accountable, and that's why that what is next is accountability.
It was setting the tone, Paul. If you really want to think about it and start like tracing the dots back to the beginning, right? This was that start of it, and then it really set the table for what they did during COVID. Right, with this totalitarianism that was taking place. And you've got these effing morons like Bruce Springsteen coming out, these legends of rock music coming out and doing a tour to talk about how they're protesting Donald Trump's authoritarianism. And I'm like, no. Donald Trump was the victim of authoritarianism. General Michael Flynn was a victim of that. Do not sit here. It's an age-old. Oh man, I'm getting pissed off. It is an age-old thing.
Somebody in the comments before we started was, "What's Rob going to be mad about today?" So
this and a lot of other stuff too. That when we get to the 9/11 stuff in NYC, I can't. I'm just gonna. My blood's gonna be boiling. I'll probably.
We got a ton of stuff today that's gonna.
We've got a lot of stuff. Stick with us over the course of the next hour and 45 minutes we have remaining. But when you look at it through the lens of what does a Democrat do? A Democrat accuses you of what they are doing. It is their universal game plan with all the bullshit that they I'm sorry hometown TV, with all the BS that the Democrats do. Their main thing, their main sort of gun, bullet in the gun here is that they always accuse conservatives and Republicans of what they themselves are guilty of. And I'm like, when is this going to be systematically, fundamentally, and totally pointed out? When we look at the liberal media, when we look at in any of this stuff, how the hell are the Democrats right now running on affordability? When the F did we have 9% inflation, Paul? It was under Democrat leadership. So what the hell are we trying to do? Donald Trump, I don't agree with everything that he's done in Trump 2.0. I didn't agree with everything that he did in Trump 1.0. But he's sure as hell a lot better on the economy than these stupid-ass Democrats. And what are they doing? They're out there, we're going to make life more affordable. We're going to lower costs. Did you lower costs? Did you lower costs when we had 9% inflation? No. You didn't do stuff. You didn't do anything to help the American people. All you tried to do was spend. And I've got Facebook friends who are posting some bull crap today, Paul. You know what she said? There's one who's a freaking libtard, and I don't know why I'm Facebook friends with her, but she posted something I wanted to comment. She's like, if we could, you're going to have to pull my volume down, I bet. If we could just, invade a foreign country and have billions of dollars to spend on a war immediately, we can solve health care. B-word, how many billions of dollars did your Lord and Savior Joe Biden send to Ukraine? You stupid hypocrite. And it fundamentally pisses me off when we're talking about everything the Republicans are accused of doing. The Democrats are the ones actually doing it, or have done it, or will continue to do it. And General Michael Flynn had his life destroyed because the Democrats wanted to get at Donald Trump. And I will never forgive them. I will never forgive the Democrats for that. I will never forgive them for trying to kill him when all of the momentum leading up to the 2024 election was that Donald Trump was going to win. Kamala Harris is a fumbling effing idiot, and no one would have been better served with her as commander-in-chief. And Donald Trump was going to win, so what did they try to do? Kill him twice. Couldn't get to him. Killed Charlie Kirk. I will never, ever align. I disagree with some of the stuff that Donald Trump does, but I will never, ever align with the Democrats. You want to sit here and tell me that a baby inside a womb is not a baby, but a dude with a dick wearing a dress is a woman? This guy walking around with a penis is a woman, but the baby inside someone's belly is not a baby. And you want to sit here and tell me you have the side of righteousness, that you are the purveyor of good. Kiss my ass.
Well, who was the commenter who said, call your blood pressure, man? I can't. Who was the commenter that wanted to know what Rob was going to be angry about today? I think we now know what Rob was going to get worked up about today. That's got to be one for the record books right there, my friend. That's one for the record books. So a couple of things about Michael Flynn I'm just going to throw out there this as I see it. There was 2 days ago, interestingly enough, Kash Patel's girlfriend, and go up and look this up, but Kash Patel's girlfriend, Alexis or whatever, posted this really lengthy Twitter thread accusing Michael Flynn of being essentially a Russian agent and is trying to divide MAGA people. The people that are part of Flynn's network or Flynn's circle of influence are trying to do that. And then the next day, this DOJ settlement drops where it's saying that the government is paying him out for wrongful prosecution. Those are data points. Do with them what you want. I just found it very interesting that there are different levels of people on the right in this coalition that are dissatisfied with what's going on, right? Like you just said. Yeah. I don't agree with everything. People have different levels where, okay, this is good, but I'm really upset about this or that or the war in Iran or more mass deportations or whatever the question is. But I'll just say this. If you really look back at what happened to Michael Flynn, if anybody has earned the right to express his opinion within the MAGA coalition as to where you think the administration could be doing better right now, it's Michael Flynn.
Absolutely. And Paul, I think that there's going to be some folks that'll get upset about, the fact that the government pays this $1.2 million, and that may not be all. I don't know.
Oh man.
But
if anybody ever owed somebody something.
Exactly my point. And I look at it and say, then why are members of Congress consistently voting to not release sexual harassment lawsuit claims that have been paid on behalf of members of Congress? Because I would guarantee you, Paul,
it's a lot more
that it's a lot more than 1.2 million.
You're right.
Because you got some creepy ass old dude, Cornyn or whoever. I shouldn't say Cornyn because I have no evidence for that, but I'm just saying some old dude that's been in Congress forever and sexually harasses.
You want to know why they're not the real reason why they don't want to let those sexual harassment claims come out, like because I don't know if you'll get the names of the people involved, but I think I think a smart journalist, if not, could track it down. How many of these sexual harassment settlements are from dudes? Just a question. How many people that have been paid out
are
from dudes? and
because they were harassed by other dudes.
Yeah, and it would expose it would expose a lot of straight men who are in the closet right now. Straight men. I don't know, just
straight, quote unquote, straight
just
men.
a observation.
Yes.
So I want to finish this statement up, Michael Flynn. Yet this settlement goes far in demonstrating that the current Department of Justice, under the leadership of President Trump, Attorney General Bonnie, Deputy Attorney General Blanche, and other dedicated department leaders, is committed to bringing accountability for bad acts of those partisan actors. It marks a meaningful step towards righting a profound wrong. Now, this is an olive branch. This is an olive branch by General Flynn. This is good. He's acknowledging that the current leadership of the DOJ, as much as I think if you can criticize anybody in the Trump administration right now, any official with full vigor and right to do so, would be Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche, right? Sure. I think that's obvious. Michael Flynn here is putting out an olive branch. He's thanking them. He's recognizing them. He's saying that this is a meaningful step towards righting. It's not the step, but it's one towards that direction. He said there should never again be such a brazen attempt to weaponize federal law enforcement against political opponents or innocent citizens. It is essential that we remain guardians of the rule of law. A huge part of the guardianship is accountability, holding those who abuse the power to answer for their full actions. It's not this Department of Justice that created this crisis of politicized justice, but they are doing right by truly pursuing justice now, ensuring the facts prevail and such abuses are not repeated. This resolution, while imperfect, brings an end to this chapter of injustice. The small measure of accountability should help the nation heal regarding the abuses of the past. It will allow my family and me to move forward. My family and I remain grateful for your support, who stood by us. It is their support and our faith in God Almighty that sustained and gave us strength to endure. I will continue to advocate for the restoration of integrity in all of our institutions. So, what is next after Flynn has been vindicated? Officially, this is official vindication. He had already been pardoned. Accountability. Jail time. Arrest deep state traitors. There's a grand jury in Florida allegedly working on this, and that's exactly what needs to happen. Now, Paul Sperry reporting this, quote, breaking, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, who just won $1.2 million settlement from the DOJ for prosecutorial abuses, just told me that little has changed inside the FBI and that there is zero accountability. So we read his statement where he's giving the olive branch, he's being respectful, but he is saying that little has changed in the FBI. A couple of times this week I've said, Donald Trump should have totally abolished the FBI. I think that would have been the great thing to do to try to restore trust and start over from scratch.
How do you cure all of the rot? Do you just try and cut off each piece as it pops its head up, or unfortunately, what needed to be done that has not been done is just abolish it and then start from scratch. My buddy is a prosecutor here in the state of Arkansas, and he has told me, he's like, I don't understand. The FBI is great for interstate ideas, but you could have some sort of small interstate agency similar to the FBI, but really put it all in the hands of the United States Marshal Service, right? And have those same investigative wings here, and you could have them in each state, right? And so the state of Arkansas would have it, and if there was a crime that was committed where it involved multiple states, there would be an intermediary, but what happens when we've seen it in crime shows and all of this stuff when the FBI shows up on a crime scene? This is now an FBI investigation we're taking over, right? Because there's this federal government supremacy that we're dealing with here, which I trust Arkansas officials more than I would trust someone from outside of the walls of Arkansas.
They have to live here. So, and that's why they have to live here.
Right. It's the same way when I talk with people and they say, I don't want to be derogatory, but they call me all the time in real estate, and they're like, "Hello, Mr. Rob. We are going to offer you a inside sales agent to call all of your old leads." And what we'll do is we'll call all of your old leads and we will get them to buy a house with you, Rob. That's what we're going to do. And I tell them every time, number one, I'm not interested. Okay. And number two, You call somebody in Arkansas talking like you're down there at the local. Never mind. If you're because they're in Bangladesh calling.
I feel like you were about to say 7-Eleven.
I didn't. No, I didn't.
I feel like that's what you were about to say.
I didn't say it. I wasn't going to.
Hey man, Joe Biden said you can't work at a 7-Eleven unless you have a strong Indian accent. He said that. So it's okay.
Oh, so it's okay. It's okay. Well, there was a lot of apparently there's a lot of not black people who voted for Donald Trump. Did you see that? Because if you don't vote for me or Donald Trump,
then you
ain't black. Right. But anyway, so we can go down that rabbit hole a different day. I'll just say this: I'm like, there is an immediate distrust for people who are not from the South if you are trying to call and talk to somebody from the South. Where if you've got some sort of foreign accent, even though there are people who have foreign accents that live in Arkansas, I mean, we're not just a bunch of rednecks here, but I'm just trying. That's the point that I'm trying to make is that there's an overall Southern Arkansan value that belongs in this state. And when you're from the outside, it's a little bit more difficult for for trust to be there.
And that would be the same thing with any culture.
For any culture, right? I mean, we see that. There's immediate distrust of things that are not like our culture or whatever. I get that.
I mean, look, I can't help it. If I'm talking to somebody and they have an accent that I know is from the North, I mean, I want to treat them, obviously like a human being and everything else, but the Northern accent, I do notice it, and I know what the Southerners think, what Southerners typically, the stereotypes that we think about Northerners.
Oh, sure.
And so, that's there. You have to suppress it, but it is there. It just is what it is.
I'll tell you this, Northern ladies like the Southern men accent, okay? Now, and I know this because I've gone on real estate business trips, and they're like, "Oh, I just want," or they don't sound like that.
They don't sound like that.
They go, "Oh, I want you to just tell me a story."
Oh gosh, Rob, what are the real estate prices?
Yeah.
They're
like, I want you to tell me a story, whatever. And so I tell them it with my Southern accent, and I'm like, "This story is going to involve my wife. By the way, I'm going to tell you a story about my wife."
I'm very happy. I'm very happily married, and the other day, my wife and I were.
Yeah. So anyway, but you get my point there that if I were, God forbid, murdered, here in Northeast Arkansas, give me a detective up there that knows the streets of our town. Give me a state police officer who knows how people work and act in this area. I don't know why we need this rotten group.
I was about to say, I couldn't remember how, but yes, exactly.
I usually bring it back home, Paul. I go off on all of these
sides.
All that to
say, FBI should be abolished. Wouldn't it be better to have local people that are here? And I know Kash Patel's tried to get people out of D.C. and that sort of thing, but I just think the whole system is, look, for years we were told on conservative talk radio, it's just the people at the top.
Yeah.
It's the people at the top that are the problem. And the people at the top still are the problem. It's not the rank and file. I'm not so sure anymore. I know obviously there's going to be honorable, moral FBI agents that are still out there, 100%.
Just trying to do their job.
But when you take a look at how long the FBI, I mean, we now have a long train of abuses and usurpations. Love that word that phrase from the Declaration of Independence. There's a long train. The FBI's track record, it's long.
Yeah.
And they have been recruiting certain types of people, and they've got a toxic environment that probably has if you go in there with a good heart, you may not have a good heart for long. And they've been recruiting, and I'll just say this, they've been recruiting I believe people who are more sympathetic to communism, if not outright communists themselves, for a very, very long time. And I think that's obvious now, and I don't think there's any reforming the FBI. There's good headlines. There's obviously plenty of bad guys out there for you to go catch that haven't been caught over the last 10 years.
Sure,
or the last 4 years. That's 100%. And I love those headlines, but I just think generally I don't trust them, and I think it should have been abolished. That's
going back to what I was my rant earlier. I will trust a Kash Patel more than I would trust any what was the previous dude.
Christopher Wray.
Christopher Wray, thank you.
Yeah.
Christopher Wray. I definitely trust Kash Patel more than I trust Christopher Wray, although, from my perspective and a lot of black pillars maybe in certain respects, Kash Patel going on Joe Rogan talking about, just really downplaying the Epstein stuff just pissed a lot of people off.
Made a lot of people mad. And I'll just be perfectly honest, it is a travesty that we have two J6 pipe bomber stories, and we've got one guy in custody, and you've got. I just am sick of, and I'm not discounting, look, I read, I watch, and we covered before the J6 pipe bomber arrest.
Yeah.
A week before that, you had Steve Baker's article that I know the Blaze had to, that retracted because of pressure. But I'm sorry. I'm still convinced, I'm still. Let me say, I still don't know. Let's say that I still think there's two legitimate theories out there of what's going on with that story, and that's really troublesome. I was telling Eric the other day, in a perfect world, there wouldn't be these competing narratives that we have on so many important issues to the base, and I'm going to write a monologue about it, actually, because I'm sick of it.
My monologues are from the tip of my tongue here, and I just it's usually when when I'm angry, all of the all of the grievances that I have. It's kind of like the Festivus on Seinfeld,
yes.
right? The Festivus. The Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. And I got a lot of problems with you people.
You want a piece of me?
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Brian Cates, real quick, putting a bow on this topic. He says the Flynn settlement from the DOJ, a lot of people are saying it's only $1.25 million.
That was my thought.
They don't understand that this had to happen first. The DOJ had to admit culpability for a wrongful and malicious prosecution that should have never been brought, before he can take the next step of suing the individual plotters like Covington and Burling, Brandon Van Grock, Andrew Wiseman, James Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Page, Joseph Panetica, Bill Priestrap, Sally Yates, Susan Rice, Christopher Steele, Stephen Halper, Glenn Simpson, Peter Fritsch, Sir Richard Dearlove, Sir Christopher Andrew, Adam Schiff, or whoever that leaker of the Flynn Kislak call transcripts was. My money is on Schiff. So if Michael Flynn wants, now that he's got this golden ticket from the DOJ saying he was wrongly prosecuted, he could theoretically go after, in a civil matter, all these other guys.
So forgive me for not knowing this, and maybe some people in our comments will know, but was it Andrew Jackson that said, I guess there was, leading up to the Mexican-American War, right? The United States and the Mexican War, there were...
What quote are you talking about?
Pardon?
Are you going to do a quote?
No, I don't know that it's. I don't know that it's a quote as much as Andrew Jackson. He goes back to Congress after there was a skirmish, and a Mexican cut the ear of a United States soldier. And again, please help me in the comments here if we can do all of this stuff. But I believe that Andrew Jackson then goes back to Congress and says that American blood has been spilled on American soil, and they were able to declare war. And again, please don't laugh at me in the comments here, but isn't that how we got Texas? I can't remember. I don't know that. But regardless,
James K. Polk.
It was James Polk in 1846.
Yeah,
when we declared the war on Mexico.
Polk claimed Mexican forces crossed the Rio Grande, killing American soldiers on U.S. soil, which fueled the Mexican-American War to acquire Western territory.
Right, but if I remember the story correctly, at that point they had not killed any American soldiers. there was just a cutting of an ear. Now, again, I don't remember. I don't know if this is me trying to remember 20 years ago in college, But anywho, I say all that to say that it reminds me of, the power of our leaders' words. And when you think about Christopher Wray, Christopher Steele, I really want to focus in on the Steele dossier and say, has there been a more traitorous thing done to the United States than that?
Yeah, and Christopher Steele, of course, former British MI6 spy. So we have other countries involved in this.
Polk wanted a war with Mexico. Polk wanted it and said what he needed to say to create the scenario so that there would be a war. And again, I'm not sure if that's when we got Texas, but if it is,
sounds very familiar in more ways than to like literally current events, that you say what you got to say to get the war that you want.
To get the war. But from a person like Christopher Steele and this Steele dossier,
right.
He completely derailed this country. It was and Trey Gowdy said it best. Literally, the country was torn apart over this Steele dossier. He said what he needed to say to get a war going.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. So he needs every bit of ridicule and punishment that is allotted, that anything that can happen should happen to him.
I totally agree. Speaking of the war, we're going to move on now to some updates on that. So President Donald Trump posted on Truth Social moments ago, or I guess this was this afternoon, but he says, so apparently, I would say, from what I can tell, good news, because we've been having news that President Trump is negotiating with Iran. Then we hear that Iran isn't negotiating. Then we hear that they are. Then we hear that they're not. President Trump posting this: as per Iranian government request, please let this statement serve to represent that I am pausing the period of energy plant destruction by 10 days to Monday, April 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Talks are ongoing, and despite erroneous statements to the contrary by the fake news media and others, they are going very well. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald J. Trump. This is a big deal. Yesterday, towards the end of the show, we played for you, we read for you Nancy Mace's tweet, who got out of a briefing behind closed doors with the Armed Services Committee. She says, I'm not in support of boots on the ground, which led many people to think that we were getting boots on the ground. And this was President Trump.
Well, do you think that was intentional? Because
it may have been, but I really thought Lindsey Graham, and he still may, but on Monday we covered Lindsey Graham and what he said on the Sunday shows. Take Kark Island; it'll just be like Iwo Jima, 20,000 casualties. And I thought yesterday when we ended the show, I thought, okay, I guess the ground troops are supposed to be there. They're supposed to be there. Or they're in the area right now. They could be at Kark Island by tomorrow, by sometime tonight. And I really thought we were sending ground troops in to potentially get massacred last night. President Trump is saying, no, we're in negotiation, so continue to pray for peace.
One thing that I listened to the latest podcast from Turning Point, and I forget the name of the guy who is basically, sitting in Charlie Kirk's desk every day. But
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
a lot of people are.
Yeah, I forget his name.
It's not. It's Colvett, I think. Okay. Andrew Colvett.
But he brought up a great point on this, and he just talked about the 7,000 troops, that are being deployed, and they're getting close, and he started going through Donald Trump's entire history, and that is that when he mobilizes. When he mobilizes American assets in terms of, ships, anything like that, he uses them. He puts it there, and then he uses them. And so there could be two things. There's two things at play here. Either we are about to get ground troops, or he is relying on his history of, hey, you remember the last time I did this? Remember the last time I did that? I followed through with it. And now you've got these troops that are coming. I'll use them if I have to. You're going to do what I want you to do. So one of those two things can happen.
Man.
But the host there felt like ground troops were imminent.
Ground troops will be a lot of political capital.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
It will also be, I fear, a lot of American blood. But I will also say this: if we do have ground troops, if that actually does happen, there's a lot of people that said that that were for this war, that said we won't get to ground troops, or you're being an extremist, or you're trying to sensationalize it. It's not going to happen. It'll just be interesting to see if there will be people that were for this, but no ground troops. Will they now come out and say, I was wrong, I was against, this is not good? That'll be interesting to see. But and then at the same time, our troops we're talking about people's actual lives here, so the politics of it, really, I should kind of bash myself over the head, because the politics of this is people's lives. We're talking about people's lives that signed up to potentially give their life to our country if required to do so. But there are clear moral objectives in a good war that are set forth, and I don't think the American people are convinced of that personally in mass. Right? We can say, nukes bad, and we don't want nukes, or we don't want this country to have nukes or whatever. But another ground war is going to be a really tough sell. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Yeah. Here is President Trump.
They said to show you the fact that we're real and solid and we're there, we're going to let you have 8 boats of oil, 8 boats, 8 big boats of oil. This was 2 days ago. And they'll sail up tomorrow. That was 3 days ago. And I didn't think much about it. And then I watched the news, and they said, a very good anchor, actually, happened to be Fox. But I watched it, and he said, something's unusual happening. There are 8 boats that are going right up the middle of the Hormuz Strait. 8 big tankers are going loaded up with oil right through. And I said, well, I guess they were right, and they were real. And I think they were Pakistani flagged. Yes. And I said, well, I guess we're dealing with the right people. And actually, they then apologized for something they said, and they said, we're going to send 2 more boats. And it ended up being 10 boats. All right. I hope I haven't screwed up your negotiations, but I thought it was appropriate to say, because I did taunt you the other day by saying they're going to give us a present.
So he is saying that he is negotiating with somebody in Iran or some group in Iran, and he is saying that in an act of good faith, they sent Donald Trump 10 boats filled with oil through the Strait of Hormuz. So,
I don't know how many can fit on one of those ships. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, it's
like how many barrels?
Yeah, how many barrels? Like how significant of a present that was.
Well, I think the present it's showing President Trump that whoever he's negotiating with can say, let these ships through.
Yeah.
And they get through. I think that's...
So he's like, I'm the puppet master of the strait? Is that what he's trying to say?
Yeah, whoever sent him.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we can actually... I've got enough authority where I can control the Revolutionary Guard to do what I say. So let's pray that this thing wraps up and we can get back to domestic issues. Here's Paulina Luna talking about how Lindsey Graham does not need to get his wish.
The winning in Iran, do you feel like we've accomplished our mission there?
Well, I think that he's been very clear on the top 3 objectives, and it seems that those objectives are wrapping up. And also, too, I just want to say publicly, Lindsey Graham does not speak for this Congress. He does not speak for the administration, and in no way, shape, or form has it been in my discussions that the administration is pursuing boots on the ground. So I think that what Lindsey Graham is saying, by the way, he would be that thousands of Americans have died and our service members being isolated.
Do you think they should keep him out of the Situation Room?
Well, I don't believe that he's in the Situation Room.
Oh, okay. Got it. Thank you, Congresswoman.
So there you go. He doesn't need to be in the Situation Room. I don't think he is. He has no business. being in the Situation Room, and this one's for you, Rob.
Senator Lindsey Graham loves new wars. This segment is called Graham Watch, and it's dedicated to him. We see you, Lady G.
That's it. That's the segment.
That's the short version.
We don't
of
really
it.
have.
We don't have time
You
for-
want to have the long?
No, I don't want the long.
You want the long
I
version?
don't want the long.
Are
one.
you sure you don't want the long
I'm
version?
sure, Paul. I do not. I don't need it.
Sorry,
we
brother.
all. Oh God.
Senator Lindsey Graham
Lindsey Graham.
loves new wars. This segment is called Graham Watch, and it's dedicated to him. We see you, Lady G.
You Lady G. You Lady G.
It gets more ridiculous every time I hear it.
Yeah, I know, right? All right. So there's that, and then we do have another one from Nancy Mace. This was yesterday. The justification presented to the American public for the war in Iran were not the same military objectives we were briefed on today in the House Armed Services Committee. This gap is deeply troubling. The longer this war continues, the faster it will lose the support of Congress and the American people. So that was, though, yesterday. What we just heard from Trump and the Truth Social from Trump is different. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's a nice linear way to how this information about the war is going, because, I mean, you could say it's actually going like this, or you could just say it's like this, because everything's moving super fast, and we have a lot of statements and then a contradiction, and then you'll have the press reporting, and you don't know who to trust, and so everything is fluid. But what we can do is continue to pray that this thing comes to an end. That's what I'm praying. So.
I don't know. I don't know what briefing Nancy Mace received. Did you say
It was she was behind closed doors at the Armed Services Committee. She got
so? It was the Armed Services. Okay, so I don't like what she said there, and not because it's an indictment against her. I just don't like the because that's where us conservatives are struggling right now, especially if we're anti-intervention, if we are America only, America first and America only, then we're like, is this another weapons of mass destruction situation? Are people giving false information to Donald Trump to get him to do something? That goes against what we know about Donald Trump, and I just want to go with this. No one has the type of all-inclusive briefing that the president has in theory.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just kind of want to go with my trust there in Donald Trump to say that he looked at all of the intelligence and felt like he had to make this move.
Yeah.
But I don't like it. I don't think I don't think a lot of us do. So.
Well, so let me give you a take that I think you will like.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Because you guys know I'm not for the war or anything else, but I do read. I try to read as much as I can about it. And here is a take that I found that it's a pro-war take, okay, but it is a slightly different take on it than I have heard. It's not the Lindsey Graham take as much. It's from a guy named 10 Delta, and it's a very long post, so we won't read it all, but I'm going to read you the high points. Basically, he says, 3 weeks ago, I argued the U.S. goal in Iran is to seize the global oil spigot. Venezuela in January, Iran in February. And so the goal here, according to 10 Delta, is to neutralize every supply channel outside the dollar system within 90 days. It's an oil thesis. It was definitely a layer of this, he says. However, when you zoom out and you view the last 4 years as a single sequence rather than isolated geopolitical events, the architecture of the grander U.S. plan becomes visible. First was Europe with the destruction of the Nord Stream pipeline and the Ukraine and Russia conflict, okay? Europe was transformed from a customer with options into a captive market, now purchasing its survival in U.S. dollars. Then you had Syria, the fall of Bashar al-Assad. Apparently, he says, Syria was a critical node connecting China's Belt and Road Initiative to the Mediterranean. The trilateral railway linking Iran, Iraq, and Syria, designed to bypass the Western maritime choke points. He says it was destroyed with the fall of Assad. Then we have Venezuela.
Yeah.
January, U.S. effectively takes control of the world's largest heavy crude reserves. The U.S. Gulf Coast has now the most advanced refining complex on Earth, specifically built for heavy, sour crude. Phillips 66, Valero, the rest are now positioned to process hundreds of thousands of barrels of Venezuelan crude daily. The U.S. captured a massive strategic reserve and solidified its position as the dominant exporter of refined petroleum products, an industry worth $110 billion in 2025 alone. Venezuela and Iran were the two major oil supply channels that existed outside the dollar system. Both produce heavy crude sold primarily to China and evaded U.S. financial supervision, both now being neutralized within 90 days, which leads to fourth. Is Iran in the Middle East's energy shock? Israel struck Iran's South Pars gas field, and then, of course, Iran retaliated against Qatar's Ras Laffan, the single largest LNG facility on Earth, responsible for a fifth of global supply. Qatar Energy's own assessment is that 17% of export capacity is gone, and recovery will take 5 years. Strait of Hormuz closed. European gas prices spiked 70%. Asian spot prices doubled. The only remaining scaled supplier, he says, is us, the United States. If Iran falls or a successor government is installed that the U.S. controls or influences, then roughly 40 to 45 million barrels per day of global production out of 103 million is effectively under U.S. control. OPEC becomes irrelevant because the U.S. coalition is now the marginal producer. Now add the gas dimension to it, and it goes beyond oil. He says the war is solidifying the petrodollar system as it evolves into a hybrid petro-LNG dollar. The old system was built on Saudi crude priced in USD. The new system built on American crude plus American gas from the Gulf Coast with no alternative supplier of comparable scale. The dependency is deeper because LNG infrastructure requires long-term contracts and regasification terminals to lock buyers into supply. I know this is a lot, but just hear him out. He says the market confirms this. DXY went from 96 to 101. Gold down 20% from its all-time January high. Bitcoin down 20% on the year. Brent crude above 100. European and Asian institutions are liquidating precious metals to buy crypto, are liquidating precious metals and crypto to buy dollars because they need dollars to buy the only remaining scaled energy supply. And then the last thing, artificial intelligence. Okay? Now, this was interesting. So you put all that together, and then this guy says, 10 Delta says, artificial intelligence is a physical industry. It runs on power and chips. Data centers require massive uninterrupted baseload electricity, primarily provided by natural gas. Semiconductor fabrication requires helium and rare earths. By choking the Strait of Hormuz and crippling the Middle East, LNG and helium production, the U.S. is systematically degrading China's ability to power its data centers and fabricate semiconductors at scale. The U.S. is energy self-sufficient, especially the newly captured Venezuelan reserves and expanding Gulf Coast capacity running on domestic gas. On the other hand, China is import dependent, and every joule it imports effectively now transits choke points the U.S. Navy controls. Iran was the Belt and Road's overland energy bypass, the corridor that allowed China to mitigate the Malacca trap. With Iran neutralized, that corridor is severed. China faces a world where its compute infrastructure competes for scraps on depleted global LNG market, while American data centers run at full capacity on domestic energy.
So, Paul, let's I know you want to read the rest of it here.
I'm pretty much done. But you see the point.
I just want to say that I'm now thinking about this a little differently, than just 5 minutes ago. Because who is this poster? I don't know who this is.
They call themselves 10 Delta.
Okay. So 10 Delta here is talking about something that this Iranian conflict might be so that the United States controls all oil trade and AI data centers.
Who said something about oil? You cooking?
Now, I'm saying that AI data centers are going to be everywhere, but when you talk about, yes, the infrastructure that it takes to implement these AI, whatever you want to call them, farms, data farms, if that is, then Donald Trump is truly playing 3D chess while his opponents are playing checkers. If
this whole thing is true,
if this narrative, I'm hoping this is not some rose-colored glass.
I just wanted everybody to know that I do try to read. I try to read both sides. I'm not for the conflict in Iran. I'm not.
Sure.
One of the main reasons that's why I voted for Trump, because I don't want the same foreign policy.
Right.
Now, what I read to you here is, I mean, I guess some could argue it is the same foreign policy. Others could say that it's not. I mean, because obviously that was the whole joke, right? I just made with Dave Chappelle about the whole reason we were in the Middle East back in the day was because of the, gotta get that.
Dave Chappelle.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's not like the idea that we go to the Middle East for oil. But the problem is, and I did always have a problem with this, just the optics of spending thousands of lives in Iraq and all of this treasure in Iraq, and yet we don't own the country. And we don't have all of its resources. You know what I mean? Like old school way, pre-World War I, when you invaded a country, you got their stuff,
Well, and, how long were we in Afghanistan?
Yes.
Exactly. 20 years, right? And we completely controlled that country in a lot of respects, not all, but in a lot of respects, we completely controlled that country. And then what did Joe Biden do? He just turned it over. He turned it back over. So all of that money, the time, the effort, the resources, all of that stuff was for naught. So I really hope that this is not a situation like, hey, we're going to go in here and just blow this up. When you think about it through this lens, let's just say Delta 10 here, 10 Delta is correct, and you're looking at it through this lens. Who has more oil? Obviously the United States, I'm told, has the most, right?
Right.
Venezuela's up there.
Yep, it is. And you look at how, and I think this is safe to say at this point, that when Israel launched that attack unbeknownst to Trump the other week on the South Pars facility, and then it retaliated with Qatar, who's our ally, who's invested all this money. The U.S. wasn't happy with that. They weren't happy with that. So, I mean, in essence, we were already controlling what Qatar was doing.
Yeah.
Right. And so it is a fascinating situation to consider, I guess.
If we're controlling all of the United States oil, and then we're also controlling the Venezuelan oil, and now leading to controlling this oil in Iran, that to me is the most because until this world learns to exist without its dependence on fossil fuels, until it learns that existence, oil is king.
Yeah, it's essentially like magic.
It's everything. Don't invest in gold, invest in oil, right? Because until an alternative is found, that's where we're going to be with this stuff. So if you look at it through that lens, and I don't know if that's true, Paul.
Right.
I don't know. But this is my feeble, small brain here that I have in little old Arkansas. But I'm thinking it's kind of on the heels of the Venezuelan thing.
Yeah, I know. He makes an interesting point. I haven't considered it.
When you think about it from the time frame, like Maduro's had a warrant out for his arrest for years and years. But now we're going to go in there and take him, and then shortly after, it's Iran. They've got a nuclear weapon coming, and you're just like, maybe we're just trying to take over the world's supply of oil. And if that's the case, oh my.
I know.
Oh my. Will we be thriving here in the United States?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of you could even say it's maybe our, while we still have the military might that we do, and we're going to just do actual colonialism instead of pretending that we're not colonial, like we're saying, we'll just give you an IMF loan, and then when you don't pay it, we'll go to war in your country. Instead, it's just like, no, we're going to war, and we get all your stuff. I mean, say what you want to about, and again, I don't want any ground troops or anything like that, and I didn't want the war in the first place. But it is interesting that there may be. Well, even Cernovich said something that this may be the first right-wing military operation in his lifetime, where the generals aren't all from Harvard and are like, trying to pull their punches, if you will.
I would love for a candid, off-the-record statement of what they think Donald Trump is doing, and I would want it from President Xi and Vladimir Putin.
That's the one thing that I forgot to leave you with, because if they were asked in their heart of hearts, what is Donald Trump trying to do? Probably sitting there thinking he's trying to squeeze us. Well, yeah, because this says this. So Israel and the GCC are absorbing the kinetic cost of a conflict whose primary beneficiary, counter to the mainstream narrative, actually America. Cut her offline for 5 years, reprices the entire global gas market in favor of U.S. exporters for the remainder of the decade. The Gulf states face years of rebuilding. Europe faces a second energy crisis in 4 years. Sure, the average American might face temporary moderate inflation and higher gas prices, but if you are the architect of the U.S. empire and you view the rise of China and Chinese ASI as an existential winner-takes-all scenario, the collateral damage is acceptable costs. Whoever controls the energy corridor. And I forgot this. So Russia is the next in the sequence. A post-war Iran reopening under U.S. influence competes directly with Russia for the same refineries in China and India at lower cost. Iran's production costs are lower. Russia loses its last structural advantage in heavy crude and its economic lifeline. Additionally, under Iran war cover, Ukraine has been opportunistically destroying Russia energy infrastructure, and all signs point towards Russia being at the end of the line. There was something about China. Oh, here it is. This is what I was trying to find. Iran was the Belt and Roads overland energy bypass, the corridor China faces. There was something about Xi. Where is it? I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not able to find.
Well, it was mentioning China, but I didn't hear anything about Xi.
There was something in here about cards. Hang on, let me see. Nope. Well, I don't know if this thing got edited. Oh, here it is. Yeah, card. So then Trump sits down with Xi holding every card. Complete energy dominance, the hybrid petro, LNG dollar fortified, Iran cleared, Russia cornered, and China facing the trap fully closed with no remaining energy bypass.
You're talking, that's right there. That's Paul.
He's supposed to go to China really soon, by the way.
Paul, this is the only thing that has made sense to me. You cannot sit here and convince me.
You're welcome for me finding it.
I am so thankful for you, Paul, because because what are our conservatives left to believe?
Let me make sure I bookmark this.
Are we left to believe that Israel, it has so much influence with Donald Trump that they went to a war with Iran just for Israel? Now, Israel is a huge ally. But we've got lots of allies. But Israel is our main ally, of course, in the Middle East. I would say that Saudi Arabia is coming up the list, here. And I don't know how I feel about that one. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is we're all sitting here like, man, why would Trump campaign on no new wars, I'm the peace president, and all of that, only to take out Maduro? Right, that dude needed to be gone. Venezuela is on its way to recovery here.
There's the
that dude needed to be gone.
There's the whole election software angle of that too, which is fascinating.
There's that. There's all these layers, man. But then, when you look at it, okay, well, are we trying to control the oil routes, right? And, some people in the comments here were talking about, that's been done for years, controlling trade routes and all of this. I totally agree with you on that. But I don't know that we've seen it on this scale here where these two major, huge players in the oil industry, in the oil trade industry, are now under, or very soon with Iran, going to be under United States control.
And it's easier said than done, because we really don't know how this is all going to wind up. Don't want ground troops. Didn't want it to begin with. I just wanted to present this as a potential option for what's going on. I think the truth of the matter is there's a bunch of different layers to all of this. I do think. I'm not naive and going to say that Israel's influence on the United States doesn't have anything. Of course, it has something to do with why we're over there. I think that's 100% fact. I mean, we can argue over the amount of influence or whatever, have that debate. But But to say, okay, well then while this is going on as well, the financial motive is probably the main motive, and that can encompass all of those other things that you can talk about. But I mean, the financial system is on its last leg. I mean, the American financial. I mean, think about it. Think about what's going on with the American financial system, right?
Sure.
We spent $12 trillion we didn't have when I started in radio in 2009. Now we've almost spent $40 trillion, and nothing bad has happened. And this idea, it doesn't make sense. Like, we've got people that are operating under this idea that nothing bad has happened, so nothing bad never will happen. That makes me think that this whole thing is manufactured. They might need a crisis. They might need a war to try to reset everything. There's a lot of moving pieces to it. I just don't want more dead Americans in the Middle East.
Yeah.
I don't.
Just want to comment on one of the, Carl, I didn't know anything. Like, have you heard anything about the coal mines possibly opening back up because now there's new technology that'll allow for certain refineries into synthetics and all of that? I haven't heard that, but there was one of our comments. So that's
I definitely know there's been new technology for a while.
Yeah.
About people researching all that. I'm familiar with lignite. There's a process where you can extract lignite from the ground and turn it into diesel fuel. So there may be something in that for coal too.
Yeah. And then Go Away, I completely agree with you. Again, Go Away is one of our, no matter, I don't know what platform somebody's watching this on, but he's a great commenter on Rumble. But anyway, I completely agree with Go Away on that. When I listened, I was mowing.
What'd she say?
Well, he said that.
He said.
I'm assuming it's he. But he just said, allies, really? Did the United States really have allies at this point? Because they all just gave Donald Trump the middle finger when he was asking for some assistance.
This is true.
Yes, and so I listened to his press conference today. I listened to it while I was driving around on my mower, mowing my apartments, and just getting mad at my tenants. I'm so sick of and that's a whole other story about junk, just left junk out there.
Are your tenants not grateful to you for providing them a place to live?
No, they're mad because I sent it to my property manager and said, hey, tell them to clean this stuff up. And because, it's just an eyesore. But I'm cruising around listening to Donald Trump's press conference today, and he talked about it. He said, I called our quote-unquote allies here, and I basically said, hey, send some ships over here to the Strait as a sign of solidarity, right? Help, quote-unquote help, not really needed here, but it would have been a huge showing of strength. And they all said no. And that just goes to tell Donald Trump where he stands, that at the end of the day, we're probably alone in a lot of respects when we want to talk about allies. But then he really brought up the other thing too, and that was in something else that Go Away was saying here, when they're supposed to be paying 5% of their GDP toward NATO, and they're not. He got them to at least pay the 2%, but he's like, I'm looking at the financials. They're not paying the 5% like we are. And so I think Donald Trump is just getting increasingly pissed off at our, quote, allies, and realizing that we don't have friends. We have enemies that are in, what's the word? We have wolves in sheep clothing that are standing here saying they're our allies, but when push comes to shove, and the United States was in peril, is this like World War II where everybody was going to be jumping in and we had the Allied forces and all of that? It's hard to believe that that's where we stand right now with the United States and our relationships with our allies.
Well, you got to look at also Europe, because Europe is obviously bogged down with the whole, the whole NATO's had their pants down this whole time, this whole thing, with Ukraine and Russia. And that brings us to this next story. Protect Tulsi Gabbard at all costs. Ukraine has been caught with their pants down backing Biden. Tulsi Gabbard has revealed that they intercepted intelligence that in 2022, essentially, they were going to use money, funnel it through USAID to send money to Biden. And, of course, this was our money. This is literally they're caught doing the very thing that so many people have accused.
Hundreds of billions of dollars
yeah, exactly.
over the course of it.
Eric Daugherty, DNI Tulsi Gabbard, has learned that U.S. intelligence intercepted Ukraine government plans to route hundreds of millions of American tax dollars to boost Biden's 2024 campaign. Gabbard's now asking the U.S. Agency for International Development to determine if the plot was carried out. Here is the other headline from John Solomon. U.S. intercepted Ukraine government messages discussing plot to route Biden to route money to Biden for re-election. This is what I would call money laundering. I mean, that's what they've been caught doing. They've been caught laundering money, and this is another. And I'm telling you, in the wake of the Joe Kent resignation, Joe Kent, whatever, say what you want to say. There's a debate out there about it, and he didn't want to go through with his job anymore. He couldn't do his job. His conscience didn't allow him to do it. Whatever, take it at face value. People are upset because he said Israel forces into the war or gave bad intelligence or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, as soon as Joe Kent does this, what happens? Mm-hmm. This guy was working for Tulsi Gabbard. I bet Tulsi Gabbard is under me. I bet Tulsi Gabbard needs to go. Tulsi Gabbard, we are waiting on her to literally uncover election fraud to help secure our elections, which will get rid of both rhinos and Democrats and the deep state and the uniparty over time.
Yeah.
And now she's also pointing out that, USAID is bad, and all that money we sent to Ukraine, hundreds of millions of dollars of it was going to work against you and me. So protect Tulsi Gabbard at all costs.
I completely agree.
Any effort to try to get rid of her, you can bet, is from the deep state uniparty, and I would even argue neocon pro-war.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. It's okay let's assume that Tulsi Gabbard is not for the war, which I would suspect that she's not. She has put her head down and is still doing work in other places. There can be Trump can have advisors and needs advisors that are not just going to tell him what everybody else is telling him. Okay, that is ridiculous and it's not healthy. So
I've read Tulsi Gabbard's book, and if you want to know where Tulsi Gabbard's head is, just read her book. It's called For Love
of the Game
with
Kevin Costner.
For love of country, I think something like that. And if you're an audiobook person, she narrates it as well. And I like her hair. That's just
calm down, Rob.
Sorry, my red-blooded man stuff comes out there, but. Anyway, some people talk about her face, but
is
I think
that
she's
intentional?
Gorgeous.
Is that intentional hair, or is that like I got struck by lightning?
Intentional. No, it's intentional. It's a style.
It's a style.
I think she's gorgeous.
It's like the old Storm from the old X-Men movies.
I think intelligence is gorgeous, and she is articulate and intelligent, and I will always love her for her white suit that she wore in the Democrat debates and the ultimate end to Kamala Harris's run for the presidency.
About
she
being
murdered
a prosecutor in the marijuana convictions.
Yeah, she was wearing this white suit and just murdered Kamala Harris right there on stage. And so, but then after that, I mean, we saw the Google stuff, and Tulsi talks about that in her book, and how essentially Google was working to get Joe Biden elected. And probably because they knew what we could all see, that he was a feeble old man and that he could be easily controlled, that he was corrupt, that we saw the Ukrainian stuff with his son Hunter Biden. All of those things factor into why I was so thankful that Donald Trump gave Tulsi Gabbard such an important appointment as the director of national intelligence. I mean, she is, for my money, one of the few. If Tulsi Gabbard said it, I'd believe it. She is one of the few people, and I'm talking about that on the conservative side. Mm-hmm. If Tulsi Gabbard said it, I'd believe it. If Marco Rubio said it, I will believe it. Okay? That's how I feel about it. I know that there's going to be some people that maybe disagree with it. So I agree with you. Protect Tulsi Gabbard at all costs. And I'm not getting paid to say this, but go ahead and buy her book if you want to get inside her head.
This is interesting. So yesterday, I was weirded out by Melania Trump at the White House for this education event where she walked out with an AI robot. I said, I don't want anything to do with it. It was creepy as can be. But there were so many people that said that, this robot is walking a lot like Joe Biden. There's jokes. Hey, they dusted off Joe Biden. They brought him out. And so I'm just throwing this out there. This is kind of uncanny. If you go back and you look at that, especially if you go back and look at the Melania video.
Watch him walking on the beach there and those with the hat and the sunglasses.
Exactly. It's like
that's embarrassing.
And there's a lot of people that thought he was some kind of skinwalker or wore a mask at times.
Well, I've seen that. I've seen the
where
video
the mask
comparisons
bunched
of
up.
him.
I mean, I don't even think that's a conspiracy theory at this point. When I became totally convinced that we were not seeing Joe Biden all the time, or who knows, maybe not even at all, because the man's face completely changed, his earlobes completely changed. You go back and look at him in the Obama debates versus, and I know age is a thing, and I know he had like brain surgery or something, but they totally they messed up everything. But when I became convinced that this guy is not who that we were getting doubles or role players or whatever. Was after he had that health scare in Las Vegas. He had this big health scare, and the 911 tapes leaked, and then they were like, "We got to get him to the hospital." And they're like, "No, we're getting him to the plane," and they got him out of there. Like the next day, he had grown like 6 inches.
Yes, I saw that.
And he was at the White House all spry, looking like Jim Comey in a Biden mask. He looked like James Comey in a Joe Biden mask. No, I mean the mask was, but I mean he looked super tall and lanky. And I was like, that is not Joe Biden. It wasn't him. He was I don't know, in a bed somewhere with an IV.
Well, you saw that, you remember the videos of him on the beach in Delaware, and he's struggling with this lawn chair, essentially. It didn't even look like it was a beach chair. It was a lawn chair. And this lawn chair, just like that you would see at your grandma's house, in the 80s and 90s that, had the mesh, nylon mesh seat to it and all of this, uncomfortable. We didn't know about it because we were kids, it was a seat. But he's carrying this thing out there on the beach, and the dude can't even lift, he can barely lift this thing, right? And it's kind of like, does this man give you confidence that he has the nuclear codes, that he's the guy that's getting the call at 2 a.m. Like, they're going to have to find where he's at that point. They're going to have to wake him up because he's not awake. Like, Donald Trump doesn't sleep, and it's like, no, it gave us no confidence. And then when you see all of this stuff, like, holy cow, man, is somebody wearing a Biden suit? Like a Biden skin, because this guy was not very many years ago jogging down, the whatever you want to call it, that breezeway at the White House. He's jogging down there with Barack Obama, looking young and vibrant and spry, and all of that. And then the guys watch him eat a chocolate chip, ice cream cone, and you're just like.
We have a card.
Dude.
We have a left-wing Will card where Will was left-wing Will in the red pill, my card game, where Will got a job as a typical left-wing leftist at the White House, but he ran away in fear because he walked in on Joe Biden filling an ice cream cone up with diaper cream, and it was very traumatizing. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in other news, you sent me this story where Muslims apparently have been covering up 9/11 memorials.
I wasn't mad. Now I'm getting
mad
again.
You need to calm. Do not. I'm just
Don't
not
go off the rails here.
It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. So you sent me on this rabbit trail. You said, "Hey, Paul, is this true? I saw this on TikTok." Well, I did find other people reporting it. This is Diamond and Silk saying that they placed Muslim prayer rugs in front of the fire department, the FDNY Memorial, Fire Department of New York Memorial, honoring firefighters killed on 9/11. It's drawing backlash. Earlier this month, the FDNY Islamic Society, a fraternal group of Muslim employees, hosted an iftar, the evening meal that breaks the daily fast during Ramadan, in coordination with the FDNY, and we got photos like this, where the Muslim prayer rugs were laid on top of the FDNY Memorial. So it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, it is offensive. There's no doubt about it. Nobody would have ever imagined that something like this would have happened.
There's no mixed messages there.
No, I mean, look at that. No, absolutely not. New York is a conquered city at this point, right?
Yeah.
Well, so I decided to do a little bit of research. I was trying to find out, is this real or not? Rob was telling me, hey, I want to know if this is real. And I found out that it's not just the FDNY. There's a cemetery in Concord, and there was a controversy about a banner there that was draped over a cemetery. And I found this, it was a 9/11 cemetery, and they decided to advertise a new Muslim peace garden, but they covered up the entrance, which was a mock Twin Towers display. Watch.
A banner displayed at a Contra Costa County cemetery has many in the community fired up tonight. The banner advertising a new Islamic portion of the cemetery was draped over a 9/11 memorial. And as NBC Bay Area's Jody Hernandez tells us, that has many people shaking their heads.
That banner has caused a huge uproar. Memory Garden Cemetery took it down at about noon today, but many say it never should have been placed at the 9/11 memorial site in the first place.
I felt like a punch to the gut type of thing.
Danny Kimmel describes how he felt when he saw a banner draped over the 9/11 memorial located in front of the cemetery where his mother is buried.
The Twin Towers, or
the
that's
banner
probably steel from the Twin
an
Towers.
Islamic Garden of Peace.
To see that sign on that memorial was kind of like not good in my thoughts.
The Kimmels are a Blue Star family. Danny's older brother was killed in Vietnam. He says his mother would have been rolling in her grave if she saw the banner.
She wouldn't just roll over, she'd get up and walk.
Danny's sister-in-law agrees. She says they're incredibly patriotic and calls the banner's placement insensitive.
There's room for everybody, but just have a little respect where you're going to put your things.
The owner of the cemetery says he recently sold a portion of the property.
Is there room for everybody?
No.
The answer is actually no. There's not.
No.
Just on a finite resources, like just on a basic like engineering level, no, there's not, because resources are finite, space is finite. So on that, but it's just sad to me. In this particular instance, we're talking about, we've imported this problem. America's soil apparently is not magic soil. It doesn't just make people Americans. They'll in fact use our own laws against us to totally transform our society. And in this particular case, they're covering up the memorial of 9/11 with Muslim with a Muslim advertisement. Ignoring that at a bare minimum on 9/11, it was a clash of civilizations.
Yeah.
And yet, even after that, these people being interviewed, they feel the need to, I don't want to say virtue signal, but maybe that is right. They feel the need to still apologize. They're still with every bit of their being, they're still grabbing on to this multiculturalism that is literally, they're in the midst of suiciding our own culture, and they're still like, well, there's room for everybody, but just don't put your stuff there. I mean, if that's not going to wake people up, I don't know what is. I feel like we're being led. Like people like this are just still being led. They're still blind, being led to the slaughter here.
You can accept your way all the way to hell.
Yes, there you go.
You can sit here and have all of this acceptance in your heart and find yourself in the fiery pits of hell one day. And I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. When they misquote the Bible, where I was a welcome foreigners from a distant land and all of that, you are forgetting the context to which that was written. Okay, it was speaking to the Jewish people about the Gentiles, right? And you are sitting here looking through the lens of, well, Jesus would have accepted everybody. What did he say to the prostitute? Go and sin no more, right? I forgive you. Yes, Jesus will forgive you for this stuff, but go and sin no more. These individuals choose to follow a man who was a pedophile, who was by all accounts a womanizer, a drunkard, all of these things. And I don't want to besmirch someone, because I know that there were a lot of good people in the Bible that did a lot of bad things that Jesus, and God used even God in the Old Testament and Jesus in the New Testament, had used for good. But these people choose to follow a man who went out into the desert, found some scrolls, interpreted them, all of this stuff, very similar to what you see in the Mormons there with Joseph Smith. And that this guy, that Jesus is just a prophet, and that he is the last prophet, so he is the most valuable, and all of that. That religion is not conducive to acceptance in Western cultures. It is not conducive to assimilation into a Christian nation. And although we have strayed far from where we were 50, 60, 70 years ago,
250 years
even
ago.
250 years ago for sure, but we were throughout our existence a Christian nation. And this type of hate, because what are they saying when they're putting this over the 9/11? And it's like, you know what? If you would put a banner that says we're sorry for what our people did, signed the Islamic Center, that's going to have a lot more value than you've put this over there. You know, you've put this banner over there because you are spitting on the graves of how many people lost their lives?
3,000. 3,000.
About 3,000, and I think many people died after the fact there with cancer and all of this stuff. And New York City saying that they will never forget elected a practicing Muslim mayor who absolutely believes that opposition to this type of thing, opposition to the prayers at the 9/11 memorial in New York City, that opposition to them sitting around on rugs in there and eating with their hands inside the mayoral office,
without furniture,
like all of that stuff. That if you have objections to that, then you are hateful. And I want to say it's that meme that we see where somebody gets shot and they're like, "How dare you make me do that?"
Oh yeah,
right,
yeah.
You know, and that's what that's what that Muslim Islamic faith here. It is not compatible with Western culture, and there's so many other things, so many harsher things that I want to say. But I remember the movie Sling Blade. Doyle Hargraves. Has anybody seen the movie Sling Blade? Some people call it a Kaiser blade. I call it a sling blade. The great Billy Bob Thornton, okay, filmed here in Arkansas. He's from Arkansas, if you didn't know that, Billy Bob Thornton. But Doyle Hargraves, played by the great Dwight Yoakam, says it best when he gets pissed off and has had enough. Now, I'm not sitting here agreeing with Dwight Yoakam. He was a wife beater, and even though they weren't married and all that stuff, he was an abusive person. But when he got pissed off at somebody, he said it best, and I think that we need to start saying this. We need to get rid of the niceties and say what Doyle Hargraves said in Sling Blade. Get the F out! Get out! Get out of here, you buzzards! Get the F out! Okay, now I'm making light of it, but anytime you can throw a Sling Blade reference in,
man.
Paul, it's been a good day.
You're going to hate me, but I've never seen the movie all the way through, and I like movies.
Listen,
but, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know,
how much you want for them French fried potatoes?
I mean, I know about the quotes.
No, you don't know anything, Paul. If you don't have the proper context to it, then you don't know anything. Okay.
Well, I do know the context to a mass invasion. And that's what we've experienced. We've literally imported this problem, and it has real-world consequences, like girls getting groped in Virginia schools. We'll listen to this report.
A Virginia mom is speaking out over a statewide policy that allowed for a 19-year-old illegal immigrant from El Salvador to be a student at her daughter's high school, where he is now accused of groping girls in the hallways between classes.
Same problem.
Israel Flores Ortiz entered the country illegally 2 years ago under Joe Biden. And even though he's 19 years old, which is older than the average high school graduate, he was still enrolled as a student. And in the state of Virginia, that is completely legal. Virginia public schools have a policy for students from other countries, and that policy reads in part, quote, if an English learner student is enrolled in a Virginia public school and turns 22 during that school year, that student may continue through the end of that school year. Now, to put that into perspective, high school freshmen are typically between the ages of 14 and 15. So theoretically, this man could have stayed in the Virginia public school system until he was 22 years old, with people almost a decade younger than him. Now, 22 is older than most college graduates. And here's one mom's take.
So it's a recipe for disaster on a lot of levels. William Wolf, the director of the Center for Baptist Leadership, holy cow, the rapes are going to be off the charts. That's not hyperbole. As a matter of fact, there's a reporter by the name of Samantha Smith, who's a columnist for the Catholic Herald, Spectator, Daily Mail, Commentator, Sky News. I thought this was an AI video, but it apparently is not.
Before that, real quickly, before we leave the Virginia crap, what the F is wrong with the people in Virginia? Because it's not that blue; it's a purple state. I mean, I know that votes.
They ran Winsome Sears, they lost to Spamberger. Spamberger's CIA, and this is what they want society to be in total chaos.
Where are the conservatives going to step to? I understand that there's a section, these rich folks in Virginia, right, that are close to D.C. there. I understand that there's a ton of money that goes through there, and typically when that happens, there's these liberal elites and all of this stuff. Sorry, folks, that there's this kind of stuff. But when you're talking about sending these individuals into these public schools, I get it that all your kids go to private schools. I get that. But some of those people that are on that school board have children in that school district. And is your liberal lunacy so infected in your effed up brain that you're like, I see no reason a 22-year-old who's not been vetted, who comes from a different country, we're going to put them in this public school, and hell, if they rape somebody, long as it's not my kid. And what did we see in Virginia? This what really Youngkin, it catapulted him whenever he was running. There were school districts that were covering up rapes in Virginia. And I just want to say, what the hell is wrong with you people?
I know.
What is, you're so infected with this stupidity ideology where you look at this person and say they're innocent. Bull stuff.
Well, it's crazy. It's such a warped evil. They think they're loving the criminal and hating their neighbor.
Open your front door and let them walk in your front door. Yeah. You won't do that crap.
Yeah.
You won't.
Well, you get to a level where you realize the people that are making these decisions on the local level, the ones that are going along with the intentional subversion and basically like making our country Gotham City, they're NPCs. They are non-playable characters. The memes are right there. They don't know how to think in the consequence of their actions, and really they're actually taking on the mindset of the third worlders. This is a link I didn't plan to make, but back to this, you got to hear this. This is a British reporter interviewing people in Britain who are from the Middle East or Northern Africa.
Britain is lost,
and they are rapists. They are admitting. No, these guys that he's interviewing, they are admitting that they rape women.
Yeah,
and I want you to listen to this.
Some of them they're not screaming. It's like they wanted to be raped. You see, she also grabs you. See, no more
like
crying.
She's enjoying it, even though she isn't. But it's like she's enjoying it.
Do you think it's right? Do you think it's right to rape?
Yeah, it's wrong. Yeah, it's wrong.
What about the consequences of what you're doing in terms of how that affects the person that's raped?
Yeah, the consequences, we look at that all the time, because it happens, she might scream, people might wake up. A lot of people, especially.
I'm not just talking about, I'm talking about the emotional effect, the physical effect it has on the girl.
Yeah. sometimes we know that we might rape her and wake up tomorrow with viruses ourselves, like HIV, you know.
What about regretting what you've done to the girl?
I also do regret about it, because if she fell pregnant, what will be that baby's father? Who will be that baby's father?
But what about her personal feelings?
So you're dealing with evil, and you're also dealing with people that are obviously, this is what I meant, like they're transferring how your actions affect other people. There's no empathy at all. They're literally, I mean, I that's why I thought this was an AI video. I thought there's no way that they actually said this. What about the girl? Yeah, you know, she could get pregnant. That'd be bad. The baby wouldn't know the father. Well, what about the rape? Yeah, we worry about the rapes because, you know, sometimes they'll scream and they'll wake people up. I mean, it's absolutely nuts, right? And Lauren Chen actually, she even tied it to not just a morality problem. She tied it to IQ. Low IQ people have trouble grasping hypothetical situations. What isn't discussed enough is how this translates to a lack of empathy. They're not even able to process the implications of their actions on themselves. Of course, they can't/don't think about the impact on others.
I understand what Lauren Chen is saying there, but that right there is a step before a lighter sentence. Understanding that they're too stupid to realize the consequences of their actions.
Right.
Bullshit.
Yeah, it shouldn't
because
matter.
what they realize is that they might get her pregnant, that she might scream and it might get interrupted, or that I might get an STD. They know their consequences. They know. They just are not sitting there thinking about,
somebody else.
Maybe this girl wouldn't like it. Maybe this girl wouldn't like it. Yeah, you know what else? You know who other people that don't do that? Sociopaths. Sociopaths don't give a damn about the feelings of someone else. Don't try to church this up and say that they're low IQ. No, they're indoctrinated sociopaths. Because if you would rape a girl and her not scream loud enough or not scream, okay, and so you think she wanted to be raped?
Yeah, they even said that they think that.
Yeah. You're so effed in the head. You're so effed in the head because you're a sociopath that there is no solution for you other than a bullet to your fucking head.
Yeah, so I was just about to go there. The death penalty for rape in contexts like this is 100% needs to be on the table. 100%.
You're destroying that girl's life.
And I've got more evidence to that. There's a flow to this. I want you to meet Noelia Castillo Ramos. She suffered from depression. Today, Lila Rose was asking for prayer because she was going to be put to death because the government of Spain decided that she could be put to death because she's depressed. Now, why is she depressed? She's depressed because she was raped in a state-run home, and she was raped by North African migrant minors. She was raped from people from the Middle East, immigrants, and she tried to kill herself, jumped off of a tall building and paralyzed herself. Her dad has been in court fighting for her to not be allowed to kill herself. And unfortunately today, she was murdered by the Spanish government. They coerced a mentally ill woman, according to Inevitable West, into assisted suicide because she had depression after being raped in an in-state run facility by MENA, which is Middle East or North African migrant minors, after being kidnapped from her parents. Literal communism. So this lady, this girl was raped by people like you just saw in the video, and this is people. I want you to think about this the next time somebody's upset that ICE is deporting somebody, and the consequences of doing nothing and continuing to allow our country to be completely demographically changed by third world barbarians. And you brought up the Bible verse that gets taken out of context about being kind to the sojourner and everything else in that biblical context. Those are people passing through. Those are not people coming to conquer. And all of this would take on a really because we have gotten rid of and we've actually de-emphasized the nation state in a lot of ways, and oftentimes they are carrying the flags of Venezuela or Mexico or whatever when they come over here, or of these Middle Eastern countries, but they're not officially in uniform. It's not an army. It's that there hasn't been an official decision by Venezuela or these Middle Eastern countries or Mexico to declare war on America and send armed soldiers. That'd be too easy. But it's the same thing, right? And so we live in this world now where, because they haven't openly declared war, we can't interpret it as a war. We have to just interpret it as, well, they're the sojourner. No, they're not the sojourner. They are an invading force. It has been a coordinated effort against first world countries from third world countries by our own elites that have been running a proxy war against the American people, using the Mexican drug cartels and other terrorist fronts to destroy this country. And that's why Spanberger and these people have these Virginia school policies, because it's very much like the League of Shadows from the Batman movies, where they're like, it's time for society to be reset, and they just want it. They want us miserable, so that they become more and more powerful. And it's all about the middle class. You go back to Jeff Younger on this show. What is the middle class in America are the only people that still believe in the Bill of Rights. They really believe in freedom of speech. They believe in privacy. They believe in that. And as long as we're here believing in those things, we can say no. But when you eliminate the middle class, all you have is very poor, all you have is very rich, and you'll have people begging for the government to take care of them, and they won't care about their rights anymore. So
yeah, it's going to be really easy for us as a young nation, right? We're only 250 years old. We're a very young nation. It's going to be very easy for us to lose what we have. Because, folks, if you're ignoring the rise and fall of these great civilizations throughout history,
wow,
and we look at ourselves as a beacon of light. If everybody is fighting to get in here, right? They're not fighting to get in here just for a better life. Some are, but some, to your point, Paul, are coming to conquer. They believe it is their religious calling to come and conquer the evil West, the evil white man. I find myself very frustrated, and this is just kind of an unscripted, off-the-cuff moment. Maybe I'll regret saying this, but this is just truly how I feel. I find myself more and more frustrated and angry with individuals that I see at Target, Walmart, where there is that you realize that this individual probably speaks no English whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
some of these individuals, we saw this when Trump really started cracking down at the very beginning of this term here, where he was sending ICE in. And I saw an interview of a person who had been living in Florida, and she had a removal order for the last 20 years. And this reporter is interviewing her, and she speaks completely in Spanish. And I say, you have lived in the United States for 20 years, and you cannot speak English, meaning you've not had any sort of desire,
right,
to assimilate whatsoever. And there are people who I'm very good friends with. They're actually a lesbian couple, and one of them is Hispanic, and she speaks perfect English. Doesn't even have a sort of accent, but she also can speak Spanish as well, right? And nobody has a problem with that.
Right.
She came here, and she is 100% American. Now, she still has her Mexican heritage and her Mexican culture in a lot of different ways, but she's 100% American. And I look at it, there are so many people. When we went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, Paul, and the people in those robes, what are they called? The Middle Eastern robes. not parkas. I said
burqa.
Burkas. I said parkas on the show last week. But they're wearing these burkas, and it was hot, folks. I mean, it was hot outside, and they smelled so bad.
Yeah.
Because their hygiene is just god awful. And I think about it every time I touch something that they have touched. And I think, man, these people are so unclean. They are not even, they're speaking in some foreign language, whatever it is. And there's no sort of desire to assimilate whatsoever. They're not, because they would be wearing shorts and a t-shirt. Everybody else out here is wearing shorts and a t-shirt because it's freaking 95 degrees. They would be doing that, and you would hear some English being spoken by these individuals, right? And guess what we do here in the United States, or we should do, the majority of folks do? Take a fucking shower, okay? Take a shower and put on deodorant. Wash your nasty ass. And you have... I know we're running out of time, but you've got these individuals who come into this country and there's no assimilation. And maybe I shouldn't be saying all this, but damn it, just get the hell out. That's what I say.
I agree. We're going to take a quick break. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, brother.
No, that's fine.
We're just going to take a quick break. We're going to be back here in 1 minute, and then we're going to lighten it up just a little bit because there's a new Harry Potter series coming out on HBO, and they've made Snape black. And there's a big fallout from that. So don't go anywhere. Back in a minute.
I'm Brian Norris, retired Army First Sergeant, husband to Kelly, father of 3 amazing girls, and a lifelong Arkansan who puts faith, family, and fair elections first. When Independence County demanded real election transparency, I led the charge, petitioning voters and winning at the Arkansas Supreme Court. Now, Little Rock bureaucrats are punishing counties like Searcy for putting voters first. That's not real conservatism. It's big government overreach in disguise. That's why Trump allies like General Michael Flynn, Mike Lindell, Justice Michael Gableman, Colonel Conrad Reynolds, Senator Wendy Rogers, and Senator Mark Fincham back me. Together, we'll secure Arkansas's elections and inspire the nation. As Secretary of State, I'll implement President Trump's executive order. Verify citizenship, replace hackable voting computers, and build trust with verifiable paper ballots. I'll cut red tape for businesses, harness our natural gas and lithium boom, and attract tech jobs to grow Arkansas strong. This is our fight, our future. Join us.
Paid for by Norris for Arkansas.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. We were telling you that we're going to lighten it up a little bit, and we're going to start with this tweet right here from Nerdrotic, who's an excellent follow on YouTube if you've never figured it out. So this week, if you're any sort of pop culture fan, you're very upset because Stephen Colbert, the libtard late-night host, has been tasked with writing some sort of weird cash grab sequel to Lord of the Rings, and it's going to be horrible. And then also you have the new trailer out for the HBO Harry Potter that nobody asked for. And so Nerdrotic says it's like 9/11 times 1,000 from this meme. Today's like Gary. Gary is the name of Nerdrotic. Gary's 9/11, first Lord of the Rings, now Harry Potter. So for those of you who don't know, Professor Snape has been replaced with this guy, an actor, and there's now AI. What would a black Snape be like in the new Harry Potter series? Well, some people think he's going to, instead of using the magic wand, he may go for his 9. And then there's this one.
Come on, Paul.
There's this one, though. This one.
Yeah, I'm Black Snake. Yeah, black cloak, black skin, walk the hall, they whispering.
All right, so, I mean, it goes on, and there's even scantily clad women in it. And then there's this one, and then I'll get your comment.
Paul.
Yo, 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 Professor Snizzle in the potions hizzle. It's your boy Snape, gonna teach you lot about potions, boy. Potions is good for everything. Potions get them galleons. Potions get super fine hoes. You need to put a fool on ice? Potions gonna do that too.
Super fine hose, he said.
All right, so here's the deal. Here's the deal with this.
Oh
okay,
my God.
The deal is that, you know, I said earlier, nobody really asked for this.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of problems with this because, well, I'll let you. What do you
Well,
think?
by all intents and purposes, this guy, Papa Doozy, he is
Wizard Papa Cap, Professor Papa Cap.
Yeah. So his name in real life is something like Pop Goes the Weasel or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But regardless, they say he's a phenomenal actor.
Oh yeah, that's what I know.
Yeah. And so this is not to besmirch him as an actor at all. And at what point did he look at this?
He's been miscast.
Yeah, he looked at it. This was the one. Like, I understand that there were, you were wanting some diversity in that, but there were so many characters that could have been,
right.
You know, Professor McGonagall, who is the.
Yeah, I get it. But the issue is the need to feel to race swap it all. Okay, Britain is traditionally a white country.
Sure.
It just is what it is. Yes, there's always been some black people there, but this is a story written about white wizards in England.
I get that, but what I'm trying to say is that if you were trying to bring some separation from the original cast, that would have been one way, because Professor McGonagall, like, she was just a coarse lady who softened at times and all of that stuff. Wonderfully played by Maggie, I can't remember, but regardless, anyway. So
I can't remember either.
I just immediately thought about it, and so there's been so many liberals. I saw a TikTok today from a girl with pronouns in her bio. She's got a name and a rainbow after her name on TikTok, and so this girl is the very definition of a liberal. And she just said, "I love him as an actor. I love him." But this was miscast. He should have turned this role down, saying, "I don't want to play this role." And in fact, he's come out and said that he's received death threats. I'm not down with that. It's not his fault. I mean, he should have turned down the role, I would say.
Right,
but at
nobody
the same
deserves
time,
to die for this.
But if you're an actor, and you're being offered, this is one of the biggest stories, and this is going to go for the next 8 seasons. There's going to be 8 seasons of this stuff. So I cannot blame this guy.
Well, go ahead and read. This is the actual description.
This is from the book.
I'm not J.R.
Were you about to say Tolkien?
Yeah, what is her name?
J.R. Rowling.
Okay, Rowling. J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
J.K. Rowling, she wrote these books.
Yes,
and this
so
was go ahead and read this.
Snape had a very, very distinct look, played by Alan Rickman in the movies, if you've ever seen it. But it said the physical description of Snape was that he had long black and consistently described as greasy hair. Okay. That he was his face was sallow, which is sickly, and pale skin, a large hooked nose, and a thin, often sneering lips. Thin lips, okay? His eyes were cold and empty and black, and often compared to dark tunnels, and his appearance was thin, scrawny, and angular, with a twitchy walk reminiscent of a spider. I've never read the books, but my son, who's sitting out there in the lobby, has, and he said that the first meeting, it talks about in the book that Harry Potter distrusted Snape at first sight. That he saw him and immediately distrusted him. And you're like,
now there is a racial component to
now
it.
There
where
is.
Otherwise wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
There's also a racial component because guess what? He's one of the only black wizards, and do you know what happened when he was a kid? He was bullied by Harry Potter's father.
Yes.
So now the bully, what is it?
Including Harry Potter's father, when they're children in school, casts a spell on him and suspends him in midair, similar to a hanging.
Okay, so good grief.
And you're just
oh my goodness.
what the hell were you people thinking
Oh, they know that it had. I mean, this is their religion. They had to do this. They
Now,
have to
Snape
race
has
swap characters. They'll never race swap
Yeah.
on the other side, though. They're never
No.
going to take a black person.
Oh, yeah.
and put them in a put a white person in
Sure,
there.
but Alan Rickman, played a phenomenal Snape, and
Amazing.
then Snape has, if you're not familiar with the story, he has a phenomenal sort of character redemption.
Spoiler alert,
Yeah.
he literally is like a double, triple agent and is one of the main heroes of
Sure.
the entire story.
Yes. And so anyway, people are ripping on us.
Why?
Ripping on us for watching Harry Potter movies.
Oh, sorry. Look, this is...
Listen, I've seen them. How can you watch TV and not have seen at least part of them? But,
guys, I don't know what our audience is, but I mean, I'm 41 years old, so these movies came out in college. For me, high school and college is when these movies were coming out.
Well,
so it's like unavoidable that we've seen these movies.
They weren't as uncool, 25 years ago when they first started coming out. But, and honestly, there were court cases, if you'll remember. I know we're running out of time, but if you'll remember, there were people trying to get the books to, stop from coming out because they said that they were devil worshipping and of Wicca. And there were actual court cases saying that Harry Potter was demonic and it was in the best interest to keep it away from children. And so, of course, my brain's like, well, I need to see this. I need to find out what all the fuss is about.
Yeah, I totally understand. I've met people that think there's nothing wrong with them. I met people that's like, yeah, it's witchcraft, wizardry. I don't want that in my home. Whatever, to each his own. The point is, this is a huge pop culture movie.
Yeah.
And now a series on HBO, and they can't help themselves but destroy it by putting modern day politics into it. They did the same thing with Lord of the Rings with Rings of Power, and Stephen Colbert will do the same thing when he gets paid whatever he's going to get paid to make this monstrosity.
Yeah.
So.
Paul, the bottom line is, and my frustration with it is that Snape of all people needed to have a certain look, and the fact that Harry Potter looks at him and immediately distrusts him from the very beginning, just by the look of him.
Right.
If you're looking at it through the lens of equality and wanting to make sure that you have diversity, you just say anybody but Snape.
Right. That's what you would say.
What's wrong with having a black Harry Potter? Okay. I mean, you want to go down that road?
Oh, well,
no, they didn't want to do it.
Yeah, that would be even worse.
They didn't want to do it because he had such a distinct look, and Ron Weasley has
make them all black.
Just make them all black.
Make it like The Wiz.
Everybody black.
Where they did the Black Wizard of Oz. Just make everybody black and be done with it, and just be more transparent. Rob, I hope you have a great weekend, sir. I know
It's been great to be in studio as always.
All right, folks. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors: Red Vibe Health, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, 7 Weeks Coffee, and Sherrod Chiropractic. Can't do the show without them. And we will see you. I will see you tomorrow here on LFA TV and across other platforms, wherever you are. Like, share, and subscribe this video. Do all the things as we're trying to grow along with you, and we appreciate it. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.